Eli Turner tightened the last panel with a satisfying click, wiping sweat from his brow as the California sun gleamed across his newly installed solar array, his roof. Once just another shingle clone in the HOA-controlled neighborhood of Silver Briar, now shined with the black glass defiance of clean energy. For Eli, this wasn't just about saving money. It was about autonomy. He'd spent years watching neighbors get fined for flower beds, wind chimes, or grass growing an inch too high. So when he finally had the budget and permits in place to install solar, he saw it as a quiet rebellion, clean, legal, and strategic. He stepped down the ladder just as the panels activated. The inverter clicked, the meter rolled backward, and Eli smiled. Power from the sun, for free, a silent victory, until the knock came. 3 raps, sharp and mechanical, echoed through the front door. Eli opened it to find Karen Witherspoon standing there, clipboard in hand, her pastel pink visor tilted like a crown of authority. "Good afternoon, Mr. Turner," she said, in a tone that made afternoon sound like a threat. Eli barely hid his sigh. "Karen, let me guess. Problem." She offered a tight smile and handed him a folded notice. "Per HOA regulations, you are in violation of Article 4, Section 12C, unauthorized roof modifications. You have 10 days to remove the solar panels, or face daily fines of $500. Eli opened the paper slowly, reading the bold print at the top. "Cease and desist. HOA infraction notice." "You're kidding me," he muttered. "These were city approved. I have permits." Karen's expression didn't change. City permits don't override HOA aesthetic standards. Silver Briar maintains a visual harmony. Solar panels break that harmony. Eli looked past her to the neighbor's house. Bob's roof has a satellite dish, a weather vane, and Christmas lights still up from last year. Karen followed his gaze, unfazed. "Those are legacy exceptions. Your panels are not." "Legacy exceptions," Eli repeated, stunned. "You're telling me saving the planet is less important than Bob's blinking Rudolph?" Karen didn't flinch. "I'm just here to enforce the rules, Mr. Turner." She turned and walked off, her sneakers crunching across the driveway like punctuation. Eli stood there, stunned, as the sun gleamed mockingly off the panels behind him. That night, he sat at his kitchen table with a whiskey and the HOA manual. It was a thick binder filled with vague language, visual continuity, community cohesion, roofline integrity, terms broad enough to mean anything and nothing. He pulled out his installation permit, approved and stamped by the city just 2 weeks ago. Everything was legal, filed, and even pre-reviewed by a city sustainability official. So why was the HOA trying to kill it? He logged into the homeowner portal, hoping to find more details on Section 12C. The document was there, but the last update was dated 1998. No mention of solar, no amendments. Something didn't add up. Then he noticed something odd. The file had been opened just 2 days ago by an administrator with a familiar login. K Witherspoon 94. Eli leaned back, wheels spinning. The solar panels weren't just a violation of visual taste. They were a threat. But to what? Or who? As the sun set over Silver Briar, its golden glow casting long shadows across rows of identical rooftops, Eli realized something. This wasn't about panels. It was about power. And if they thought he'd roll over quietly, they didn't know who they were dealing with. The next morning, Eli woke with a fire under his skin. He wasn't just annoyed. He was provoked. He poured black coffee into a travel mug, tucked the violation notice into his back pocket, and drove straight to the Silver Briar Community Center. The monthly HOA board meeting wasn't scheduled until next week, but the office was always open. Inside, pastel walls and laminated posters welcomed visitors with phrases like, "Preserving peace, one policy at a time." Eli chuckled under his breath. Peace had nothing to do with it. At the reception desk sat Darla Finch, the HOA secretary, chewing on the cap of her pen like it owed her money. She looked up, startled. "Mr. Turner, didn't expect to see you today. I need to speak with someone about a solar violation. Karen dropped this off yesterday." He pulled out the folded notice and dropped it on the desk like a court summons. Darla scanned it quickly, then offered a mechanical nod. That would fall under President Pierce's review. "But he's in a private meeting right now." "I'll wait," Eli said, and took the seat directly across from her. Darla hesitated. "It might be a while." Eli leaned back, arms crossed. "Good thing I brought coffee." For 25 silent minutes, Eli sat and stared at the framed mission statement on the wall. The HOA exists to protect the values, standards, and community image of Silver Briar. Eventually, a door creaked open, and Franklin Pierce himself stepped out. The man looked like he had been carved from polished wood, tall, stiff-backed, and dressed like a realtor from 2005. His smile was practiced, his handshake bone-dry. "Eli," he said with a voice smoother than oil, "I heard you've been causing some ripples." "Funny," Eli replied. "I thought I was just generating electricity." Franklin gestured toward a side office. "Let's talk." Inside, the walls were lined with HOA awards and a single dusty plant drooping in the corner. Franklin motioned to a chair. "Your solar panels are a concern," he began. "Silver Briar has guidelines. Visual consistency is paramount. When every home looks like part of a larger whole, property values remain strong." Eli pulled out his permits. These were approved, city certified, and last I checked, state law protects solar access. "You're aware of the 2023 Residential Clean Energy Act, right?" Franklin's smile twitched slightly. "We're reviewing the legality of your installation. HOA codes are binding, but your codes are 25 years old and don't mention solar." "They don't have to," Franklin said calmly. "The board interprets and enforces aesthetics." Eli narrowed his eyes. "So basically, if I plant the wrong color rosebush, I can be fined. If it clashes with the neighborhood's tone, yes." There was a silence. Eli leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Let's cut through it. Is this really about how the panels look?" Franklin's eyes darkened. Just for a second. Then the smile returned, colder this time. "You've always been independent, Eli. That's fine. But we can't allow exceptions, just because someone doesn't like rules." Eli stood slowly. "Then you'll love this. I'm filing an appeal, and I'll be back at the next meeting with the full documentation. Let's see how well your rules hold up when the law's in the room." As he walked out, Darla gave him a side glance. Part curiosity, part fear. Outside, Eli looked up at his panels, gleaming in the morning light. That wasn't just energy up there. It was leverage. They had picked the wrong roof to mess with. By the time Eli got home, the heat outside had nothing on the pressure building inside his head. He set his coffee mug down, opened his laptop, and went straight to the city's online portal. If the HOA was playing legal games, he needed to know the rules better than they did. He typed in his permit number. Approved, inspected, and compliant. Green check marks all the way down, nothing out of place. So why was the HOA so confident? He switched tabs and opened Silver Briar's digital homeowner portal again. Buried inside was the dreaded HOA handbook. still stamped with a last revision date of 1998. The PDF opened like a haunted book, long, dense, and vague. But Eli wasn't skimming anymore. He was digging. After an hour, he found it. Section 12C. Unauthorized roof modifications. The language was slippery. No direct mention of solar. Just a line about materials, installations, or reflective surfaces that disrupt community continuity. Eli scoffed. Reflective surfaces? My panels reflect less than every SUV windshield on this block. Still, it wasn't enough. They'd twist that line against him. What he needed was leverage, something undeniable. So he started calling. First the solar company. They confirmed all permits had been pulled properly, and even offered to send documentation. Done. Next, City Hall. After bouncing through 2 departments, he finally got a voice that mattered. Gina Patel, head of residential compliance and sustainability. When Eli explained the situation, she whistled softly. They're trying to enforce a 1998 rule on a 2023 installation. That's not going to fly. If your permit's active and compliant, they have no legal standing. Eli grinned. So, I'm in the clear. You should be, she said. But you might want to check something else. We've had complaints from a few other neighborhoods lately. Similar patterns. HOA interference. Permit trails going missing. And not just clerical errors. His grin faded. Wait! Missing how? I mean digital deletions. Mysterious removals. We're investigating internally, but I'm just saying, keep backups. Eli's heart thumped. He refreshed the city's permit page just to double check. Error. Permit file not found. What the hell? He muttered. He tried another link. Same error. The system had gone blind. He grabbed his phone and called back. Gina, it's gone. My permit record. I was just looking at it 30 minutes ago. She went quiet. Give me a second. A minute later, she was back. That's strange. Your file was accessed at 11:42 a.m. this morning, but not by us. Eli glanced at the clock. 11:42 a.m. Just after he left Franklin's office. Who accessed it? He asked. I can't see that here, Gina replied. But I'll request a log pull from IT. Please do. And can I get a printed certified copy of everything in that file? Now, I'll overnight it to you. Eli hung up slowly. Someone had intentionally removed his permit data from the city's system. Not blocked it, not flagged it, erased it. That wasn't a clerical error. That was sabotage. Back in the portal, he looked again at the HOA admin logs. Buried in the metadata. K. Witherspoon 94. Pierce FE. Admin. Logged access. 11:42 a.m. His stomach twisted. This wasn't about aesthetics. It wasn't about rules. It was a coordinated move. And if they were erasing legal records, what else were they hiding? He looked out the window at his solar panels, still glinting in the light. They weren't just trying to shut him down. They were trying to bury him. The sun dipped low over Silver Briar as Eli sat alone in his garage, laptop open, headphones on, watching grainy security footage from the small camera he'd installed above his home office window weeks earlier. Back then, he'd placed it for general safety. Porch pirates, prowlers, whatever. He never thought it'd come in handy for a war against his own HOA. But there it was. Time-stamped footage from the previous afternoon. Karen Witherspoon. On his property. While he was inside. She hadn't knocked. Hadn't even called out. Just walked around the back of the house and took photos. Of the panels. Of his inverter. Of his breaker box. Her phone's camera flashed once. Then again. And then she pulled out something else. A slim black USB stick. She approached the utility. Meter. Crouched. plugged something in, then left. Eli hit pause. No way, he muttered. He'd suspected surveillance. Harassment even. But now, tampering. He backed up the video to multiple drives, then forwarded a copy to Gina Patel at the city's residential compliance department with a note, "You might want to take a look at this. The HOA isn't just overstepping, they're breaking the law." Then he opened a browser tab and began researching every company listed on Silverbrier's vendor roster. Trash pickup, landscapers, maintenance contracts, all standard fare, until he saw one name that didn't belong. Arcostar Energy Solutions, HOA Liaison Division. He frowned. The solar company he used wasn't Arcostar, so why was a private energy contractor listed under energy-related consulting? For the HOA, a few clicks and cross-searches later, he found Arcostar's website. Vague mission statements, glitzy marketing speak, but buried in the press release archive was the truth. Arcostar partners with Silverbriar HOA for exclusive energy monitoring and integration trial. Exclusive. Eli's blood ran cold. They weren't just blocking his panels, they were making room for their own. He scanned recent board meeting minutes. Nothing about energy partnerships. No homeowner votes. No transparency, which meant one thing. The HOA had cut a secret deal, and Eli's independent solar setup? It threatened the whole contract. That night, he met with his friend Alex, a cybersecurity analyst who owed him a favor. Eli showed him the footage, the website, the access logs. Looks like they're setting up a network-based monitoring grid, Alex said. They probably want every house on their system. Data control, maybe cell usage metrics. Eli raised a brow. So, if I'm generating my own power off-grid, you're a hole in their system, a hole they don't control. That was it. This wasn't about appearances or even HOA pride. It was about money. Big money. Eli decided it was. Time to flip the game. He borrowed a hidden lapel mic from Alex, mounted a discreet dash cam in his truck, and made a call. "Karen," he said when she answered. "You win. I'm willing to talk about panel removal. Under one condition. I want to meet with the board. All of them." There was a pause. Then that same clipped cheeriness. "Of course, Mr. Turner. I'll schedule something for tomorrow." Eli hung up. The trap was set. Let them think he was folding. Let them get comfortable. Because tomorrow he wasn't going to argue. He was going to expose everything. The Silverbriar Community Center was unusually quiet the next day. Too quiet. Eli's boots echoed against the laminate floors as he stepped inside the conference room where the emergency board session was already in progress. The table gleamed under fluorescent lights. Bottled water, untouched. Faces, expectant. At the head sat Franklin Pierce, HOA president, with Karen seated just to his right. 3 other board members flanked them. Eli had seen them before, but barely knew their names. Today, he would know everything. "Mr. Turner," Franklin said smoothly, motioning to an empty chair at the far end. "Thank you for coming. We're pleased you're reconsidering." "Sure," Eli said, sliding into the seat. "I'm all about cooperation, when it goes both ways." Karen smiled tightly. "Then let's begin. We've reviewed your case extensively, and while we respect your initiative, the solar panels you installed unfortunately violate our architectural guidelines." Eli kept his expression neutral. "And you're sure about that?" Franklin nodded. "It's not personal, Eli. This community thrives on order, consistency. That's what keeps our home values high." "Right," Eli said. "And what about the Arcostar partnership?" The room froze. Franklin blinked. "I'm sorry. You know, The exclusive deal you made without homeowner knowledge. The one where our co-star gets first rights to install HOA-approved energy infrastructure, while independent installations, like mine, get fined into the ground. One of the other board members, a grey-haired woman named Doris, shifted uncomfortably. I wasn't aware of any exclusive agreement. Eli pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. Instantly, the room filled with audio. Karen's voice, recorded during a prior HOA walkthrough. We just need him out of the way. Our co-star wants clean rooftops to install their standardized units. Karen lunged forward. You can't record private conversations. Oh, but I can. Eli said calmly. California's a two-party state. Unless it happens on my property, where you trespassed, without a warrant, and tampered with city-owned equipment. Franklin's face drained of color. What are you accusing us of? Sabotage, fraud, obstruction. You accessed my city permit file and tried to erase it from the system. I have logs, I have video, and I sent copies to the city compliance office. Doris gasped. Is that true? Karen stammered. We were protecting the neighborhood's aesthetic, Eli interrupted, by planting surveillance, falsifying violations, and deleting city records. Sounds less like aesthetics and more like covering tracks. Franklin stood. This is outrageous. No, Eli said, rising to match him. What's outrageous is that you sold this entire community's energy future to a private contractor without a single vote. He reached into his satchel and pulled out 3 binders, one labeled city permits, another ArcoStar documents, and the third HOA bylaw breaches. I'm submitting this package to the city, the State Solar Commission, and every single homeowner in Silver Briar tonight. This isn't just a fight about my panels anymore. It's about ownership, privacy, and trust. The room was silent, except for the hum of the air conditioner. Then Doris spoke. If what he says is true, we've all been misled. Franklin turned to her. You're not seriously believing this, but her voice was steady. I think I want to see those documents. Karen was visibly shaking. Eli could see the cracks forming. He gave them one last look. You wanted to kill my sunlight. You just dragged your whole board into the dark. Then he walked out, shoulders square, heart pounding. This wasn't over, but the table. It had just been flipped. That night, Eli uploaded everything. Video footage, audio clips, document scans, even a screenshot of the missing permit log, into a secure public link. Then he wrote a calm, measured message and sent it through the Silver Briar Community Forum. To all my neighbors, you deserve to know what decisions are being made in your name, behind your backs. This isn't about one man's solar panels. It's about power, privacy, and money. Attached to the facts. Read for yourselves. He hit send. Then he waited. It didn't take long. By morning, the Silver Briar Forum was on fire. Over 50 residents had commented before sunrise. Some were shocked, some were furious, and some were terrified they'd been caught in the same web. I was fined last year for adding attic insulation. Now I'm wondering if it was really about energy control. Wait, they deleted his city permit. Isn't that a crime? If this is true, that board needs to be dissolved. By noon, the HOA office phone lines were jammed. Darla Finch, usually unshakable behind her front desk, looked like she'd aged 10 years in one morning. Franklin had locked himself in his office. Karen hadn't been seen since the board meeting. Eli walked to his mailbox under blue skies. It was the first time in months a neighbor waved without hesitation. Hey, Eli, called out Marty from 2 doors down. Heard you nuked the HOA. Eli laughed. Just turned on the lights. But the real storm arrived at 3:14 p.m. A sleek silver sedan pulled into the cul-de-sac and parked at the HOA office. Two state compliance officers stepped out, one in a navy blazer, the other carrying a thick binder marked Energy Oversight Division. Eli watched from his front porch, arms crossed, as they entered the building. 20 minutes later, Karen was escorted out the front door, face flushed, her usual superiority replaced by something closer to panic. The officer handed her a sealed envelope. Franklin emerged shortly after, arguing, but the officer's voice cut through him like steel. You're under investigation. Until further notice, all enforcement actions are frozen. That includes solar violations. By 4:30, the HOA office was closed. At 5, Eli's phone buzzed. A text from Gina Patel. State has suspended Silver Briar's enforcement authority pending review. And yes, your permit is officially reinstated. He exhaled deeply. For the first time in weeks, the pressure in his chest lifted. But even as the neighborhood buzzed with the fallout, Eli noticed something odd. An unmarked white van, parked at the far end of the block. It hadn't been there before. Tinted windows, no plates, no movement. He stepped inside and checked his security feed. 3 minutes later, the van was gone. Eli frowned. He'd kicked a hornet's nest. And the HOA was just the front. Arco Star hadn't made this mess out of ego. They did it for profit, and someone out there had just watched their investment start to crumble. There were bigger players at the table now. He picked up his phone and dialed Alex. We're not done, Eli said. I need you to look into Arco Star's contract history. Any other neighborhoods, any legal pushback, any state investigations. We just pulled the rug out from under them. And I want to know where they land. Alex didn't hesitate. I'm on it. Eli looked up at his roof. The solar panels gleamed in the golden light. Silent, defiant, unstoppable. This wasn't just about saving his home anymore. It was about stopping something far bigger. 3 nights after the HOA fallout, Eli stood in his garage, watching live feeds on a split-screen monitor, while his phone buzzed with a text from Alex. Found something. It's bigger than we thought. Sending files now. Eli clicked the shared link. The folder was labeled Arco Star Shadow Grid. Dozens of documents poured in. SEC filings, Energy Commission proposals, and internal memos that had been scrubbed from public view. Alex called seconds later. They're not just installing solar panels, Eli. Arco Star's building a private, smart grid, neighborhood by neighborhood, and Silver Briar was one of 6 test zones. A smart grid, Eli asked. Think centralized power, usage tracking, even remote control of home systems, HVAC, appliances, the works, all under the guise of green convenience. But here's the kicker. Arco Star's not just collecting energy data, they're selling it. Eli's gut sank. To who? Insurance companies, marketing firms. In one case, a defense subcontractor. It's all hidden in shell contracts. He leaned against his workbench. So, every house they install a panel on becomes a sensor. Exactly. And you, independent, unmonitored, off their grid, you were the blind spot. That's why they came down so hard. You weren't just non-compliant. You were dangerous. Eli rubbed his forehead. They tried to erase my file because I was the variable. Yep. And now that you exposed them in Silver Briar, their test zone's compromised. Eli stood upright. We need to tell the press. Already working on it, but I dug deeper. One of their board members used to work for Stratacore Analytics. Guess who owns a majority stake in Arco Star now? Eli didn't answer. He didn't need to. Stratacore. Alex confirmed. Military-adjacent data firm. They don't care about solar. They want infrastructure, domestic surveillance disguised as energy efficiency. Eli's fists clenched. And then, another buzz. This time it was a voicemail. Unknown number, masked ID. Eli hit play. A smooth male voice, distorted slightly. You've made quite the mess, Mr. Turner. You think you're helping your neighbors? You've cost some very serious people a lot of time and investment. I'd strongly advise you stop digging. Enjoy your panels while they're still yours. Click. Eli stared at the phone. He rewound it, played it again. The message wasn't angry. It wasn't even threatening. It was surgical, calm, efficient, dangerous. He opened his safe and pulled out the hard drives, the backups, the copies, everything he and Alex had gathered. He placed them in a metal case, locked it, and moved it to his truck. Then he went back inside, accessed a dead man's switch link Alex had helped him build, and uploaded everything to a secure server. If anything happened to him, emails would go out to journalists, government agencies, a whistleblower dump on ArcoStar's entire operation. By midnight, Eli wasn't sleeping. He was watching, and at 2:11 a.m., it paid off. His driveway camera pinged. A shadow moved near his power junction box. Eli didn't panic. He opened his app and activated the hidden floodlights. A man in black workwear flinched hard, caught mid-reach, eyes wide like a deer in headlights. Then, he bolted into the street, disappearing between hedges. Eli saved the footage. Another file, another thread in the web. They were still coming, but this time he was ready. Because now it wasn't just an HOA battle. It was a national one. And Eli Turner wasn't just defending his roof anymore. He was defending everyone's. 3 days later, the Silverbriar neighborhood looked different. Not because of any physical changes, yet, but because the fear that once clung to the cul-de-sacs like smoke had vanished. For the first time in years, people talked openly on porches, in driveways, in backyards. A kind of cautious hope was spreading. Eli could feel it in the air every time someone new stopped him and said, "Thank you," but he knew better than to relax. The message from the masked voice kept playing in his head. The man in black at 2:11 a.m. was still out there. ArcoStar hadn't folded. They'd simply gone underground, more careful, more precise. That morning, Eli received an email from Channel 7 News. "We'd like to interview you regarding the ArcoStar community grid leak. Your whistleblower documents have been verified. If you're willing to go public, this story could make waves." He stared at the screen. This was it, the nuclear option. Once his face hit the news, there'd be no going back. But if he didn't, someone else's HOA might already be in ArcoStar's net. He clicked reply and typed, "Let's do it. Name the time." By the next afternoon, he was sitting under a boom mic, in front of a clean background, in the Channel 7 studio. A cool-headed anchor named Michelle Lee sat across from him. "We're here with Eli Turner, the Silverbriar resident who exposed what appears to be a national experiment in neighborhood surveillance." Eli cleared his throat. "It started with a solar panel violation, but what I found was an entire system designed to control energy access, monitor citizens, and profit from our private data, all without consent." He didn't sound like an activist. He sounded like a man who had been pushed too far. The footage aired that evening, and within 48 hours, it had 2.3 million views. Reddit threads exploded. Activists latched on. Government energy commissions were suddenly flooded with FOIA requests. Other neighborhoods began to share similar stories. Unexplained fines, deleted permits, pressure to install standardized units from companies tied to ArcoStar. Within a week, the company issued a formal press release, ArcoStar Energy, regrets any perceived overreach and will fully cooperate with state investigations. All private pilot programs are now suspended pending internal audit. But Eli wasn't fooled. 2 days after the broadcast, he received a second voicemail, this one softer. Impressive, Mr. Turner. But remember, sunlight doesn't last forever. That night, Eli drove to the mountains, not to hide, but to activate the final phase of his plan. In the quiet stillness of a remote ridge, he met a small team of activists, engineers, and former solar contractors, all of whom had left companies like ArcoStar in protest. Together, they'd formed a non-profit, Sun-Free Collective. Their mission was simple: independent solar for every community, HOA or not. Eli unlocked the truck bed and revealed the case of hard drives. This is everything, he said. Every contract, file, voice memo. It doesn't just bury ArcoStar. It shows how deep the rock goes. One of the engineers whistled low. You sure you're ready to hand this over? Eli smiled faintly. I'm not giving it away. I'm joining the fight. 3 months later, Silver Briar elected a new board, one that voted to protect independent energy installations. Karen Witherspoon. She disappeared quietly. Though rumor had it she was named in a class action suit, and Eli Turner, his panels still, gleamed under open sky, untouched. But now, they weren't just generating power for his home. They were fueling a revolution.